At 8 years old, Vito Rizzuto arrived in Canada. What looked like a new beginning to others was the first move in a much darker story. By the time that boy became a man, authorities would allege he was running a $10 billion international drug empire. His name moved quietly, whispered in Rome's boardrooms, and echoed through New York's backroom social clubs. He wasn't just powerful, he was the bridge, linking old-world Sicilian codes to the raw, violent reality of modern street gangs. A calm negotiator in a world of chaos. A strategist who ended wars without ever raising his voice. His legend was sealed the night he stepped out of a Brooklyn basement and dismantled the leadership of the New York Mafia, never losing his composure, never showing fear. They called him the Teflon Don of Montreal. Polished, calculated, untouchable, or so everyone believed. Because for all the billions, the alliances, and the blood-bound loyalty, his story doesn't end in a shootout or a prison cell. It ends quietly, slowly, with betrayal, not from an enemy, but from his own body. And it happens in the very city he spent decades turning into his personal fortress. This is the story of Vito Rizzuto, from a Sicilian boy on Canadian docks, to a ruler of the global underworld, and the invisible enemy that ended it all. The architecture of an empire. From Sicily to Mafia Row. Born in 1946 in the hills of Sicily, Vito Rizzuto wasn't introduced to power, he inherited it. His bloodline ran through local bosses, and his father, Niccolo, saw Canada not as refuge, but as opportunity. When the family arrived in Montreal, the city was already controlled. The Rizzutos didn't challenge it loudly, they dismantled it quietly. Through the 1970s, a slow, surgical takeover unfolded in the shadows. By 1978, with Paolo Violi dead, the old order collapsed, and the Rizzutos stepped into the vacuum. Vito became the architect of a new regime, not a street boss, but a diplomat, blending Sicilian tradition with corporate precision. Under his command, the family built a shadow government that reached from the docks to City Hall, and moved from alleyways to mansion-lined Guin Boulevard. Power had changed hands, the $10 billion consortium, a new way of doing business. What made Vito Rizzuto a super boss wasn't his appetite for violence, it was his control over it. He understood a truth most criminals never learn. War kills profit. Gunfire draws attention. Bodies bring consequences. So instead of chaos, he built something far more dangerous. Investigators would later call it the Alliance. Not a gang, but a criminal executive suite. A carefully balanced network where every group had something to lose if peace collapsed, and Vito sat at the center, calm and untouchable. Disputes weren't settled with bullets. They were settled with numbers. By standardizing protection across Montreal's construction industry, he turned the city itself into a permanent revenue machine. Every crane, every foundation, every skyline change fed the same system. Under his mediation, enemies became partners. Old grudges disappeared, not from loyalty, but from profit. For a time, the streets stayed quiet. The money kept flowing. And that silence was the most dangerous thing of all. The Hells Angels, who controlled the street-level distribution. The West End Gang, the Irish mobsters who ran the Port of Montreal. Street gangs, providing the muscle and the reach into the suburbs. Colombian cartels, the direct source of the product. At its peak, Rizzuto's network allegedly moved $10 billion in cocaine and heroin through Montreal to New York. And still, nothing touched him. For decades, he was the Teflon Don. Charges slipped off. Scandals vanished. His name never surfaced. He became a ghost in the machine, deciding which roads were built, which bridges rose, which companies survived, all while calmly lining up a stroke at exclusive Montreal golf clubs. Power didn't announce itself. It operated in silence, and for a long time, it was untouchable. The Three Capos murder. The ghost of Brooklyn. Vito's rise to international power peaked on May 5, 1981, in a Brooklyn basement. The Bonanno family was at war. 3 captains plotted a coup, and Montreal was called in. Vito was one of 4 chosen to end the threat. As the captains entered, the lights went out. In the darkness, Vito allegedly emerged with a submachine gun. Minutes later, New York's top leadership lay dead. He returned to Montreal the next day, blending back into business life, believing the night was buried forever. It didn't. The fall, extradition, and the OK Corral. In 2004, the past finally caught up. Based on the testimony of high-ranking New York informants, Vito was arrested at his Montreal home. After a 3-year legal battle that went to the Supreme Court of Canada, the Teflon Don was extradited to the United States. In 2007, he did the unthinkable. He pleaded guilty to racketeering and conspiracy to commit murder. He was sentenced to 10 years and sent to a supermax prison in Colorado. While Vito sat in a cell, his world outside was systematically dismantled. His enemies, believing the lion was neutered, struck at the heart of the family. 2009, his eldest son Nick Jr. was gunned down in broad daylight. 2010, his brother-in-law, Paolo Renda, vanished without a trace. 2010, his father, the 86-year-old Nicolo, was shot by a sniper through his own kitchen window while he sat down for dinner. The Rizzuto empire was bleeding out, and the man who built it could only watch from 1,000 miles away. The Return, a year of fire and blood. In October 2012, Vito Rizzuto was released. Most expected him to retire to Sicily or hide in Toronto. Instead, he returned to Montreal like a revengeful ghost. The year that followed was one of the bloodiest in Canadian history. One by one, those who had betrayed the family or tried to seize power began to drop. Salvatore Montagna, the acting boss of the Bananos who had tried to take Montreal, was found dead in a river. Joe DiMaolo, a longtime associate turned traitor, was executed in his driveway. Vito didn't need to bark orders. His presence alone restored the hierarchy. He was back on top, moving in an armored vehicle, living in a fortified apartment, and proving that even a wounded lion is the most dangerous thing in the jungle. The final betrayal, death in the house of Rizzuto. The end of Vito Rizzuto was not cinematic. There was no final shootout, no dramatic arrest. In December 2013, the man who had survived the New York Mafia wars, the betrayal of his closest allies, and years in a supermax prison, was admitted to Sacré-Cœur Hospital in Montreal. He was suffering from complications related to lung cancer and pneumonia. On December 23, 2013, at 3 a.m., the Teflon Don died. He died in the city he had controlled for 30 years, leaving behind a power vacuum that many feared would trigger a tsunami of violence. His funeral was a spectacle of old-world mafia power, a gold-colored casket, hundreds of mourners in black suits, and a silent city watching as the era of the super boss came to an end. The story of Vito Rizzuto is a chilling testament to the power of mediation and the inevitability of consequence. He revolutionized organized crime by treating it as a global association, turning Montreal into the narcotics gateway of North America. He was a man of immense charm and ruthless efficiency, a leader who could negotiate a multi-million-dollar construction contract in the morning and oversee a gangland execution by dinner. He achieved the peak of criminal influence, outlasting his rivals and even outliving the very men who tried to destroy his family while he was behind bars. Yet, for all his billions and his armored cars, he was ultimately taken down by a simple biological failure, a quiet end for a man whose life was defined by the loudest of violence. Vito Rizzuto remains the ultimate symbol of the Canadian underworld. A man who proved that you don't need to be the loudest person in the room to be the most powerful. You just need to be the one everyone is afraid to cross. If you found the story of Vito Rizzuto's rise and fall fascinating, please like this video, share it with those who follow true crime, and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into the world's most notorious figures. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss a story. Thank you for watching.